Volkswagen just realized they're charging $25,000 for city cars that Chinese brands deliver for $8,000. Renault sees their electric Twingo pricing crumble. Smart's entire business model looks absurd when BYD sells an award-winning city car for less than most Americans spend on a vacation. These aren't golf carts or penalty boxes. They're legitimate vehicles with modern safety tech, real range, and build quality that makes budget European offerings look overpriced. Number 1 won a global award while costing less than a used Honda Civic. Let's start with the one that literally won against the world. Number 5. BYD Seagull. Picture this scene at the New York International Auto Show in April 2025. Automotive journalists from 30 countries gather to announce the World Urban Car Award. The finalists include Hyundai Inster, Mini Cooper Electric, and a Chinese hatchback most Americans have never seen. The winner? The BYD Seagull, a car you can buy in China for around $8,000 that just beat everything Europe could offer. That single moment should have set off alarm bells across every Western automaker's headquarters because it proved what they've been denying. China doesn't just build cheap cars anymore. They build winning cars that happen to be cheap. The Seagull measures just under 3.8 meters long, making it smaller than a Volkswagen Polo, but somehow feeling roomier inside. That's the magic of EV packaging, where batteries sit flat under the floor and there's no transmission tunnel eating legroom. BYD engineered the wheelbase to length ratio at 66%, higher than most city cars, meaning they maximize the space between the wheels for passengers while minimizing wasted metal at the nose and tail. You step inside expecting a penalty box and instead find yourself in a surprisingly airy cabin with actual rear legroom that would make a Fiat 500 owner jealous. The dashboard follows BYD's Ocean Series design language with what they call a wing layout, meant to evoke a seagull's spread wings. There's a rotating 10.1-inch touchscreen in the center that flips between landscape and portrait depending on what you're using, plus a 5-inch digital instrument cluster. The materials aren't premium leather and soft touch everything, but they feel solid and well assembled in ways that budget European city cars often don't. The two-tone color schemes available make it feel younger and more playful than the sea of gray interiors dominating European small cars. Here's where it gets uncomfortable for European brands. The 2025 facelift added DiPilot 100, BYD's advanced driver assistance system. This thing includes 12 cameras, 5 radars, and 12 ultrasonic sensors, enabling highway autopilot, memory navigation, and automated parking. That's L2 plus autonomy in a car costing $8,000 to $11,000, depending on battery size. A Volkswagen ID.2 targeting €25,000 won't offer similar capability. Mini's electric Cooper at $32,000 has less advanced driver assistance. BYD put technology reserved for premium vehicles into their entry-level city car and somehow made money doing it. 2 battery options are available. The base 30.88 kWh pack delivers around 220 km WLTP range, adequate for city use. The larger 38.88 kWh option pushes that to 310 km, genuinely useful for weekend trips beyond the city. Both use BYD's Blade LFP battery technology with exceptional thermal stability and safety. The motor produces 75 kilowatts in base trim or 115 kilowatts in higher versions, enough for confident acceleration in urban traffic. This isn't a slow, compromise vehicle. It's genuinely pleasant to drive. Safety proved strong enough to earn 5 stars in Euro NCAP testing for the European spec Dolphin Surf variant, which is essentially a slightly longer Seagull with extended bumpers for crash regulations. 6 airbags, electronic stability program, electronic parking brake, and high-strength steel in 61% of the body structure. BYD engineered this car to meet or exceed Western safety standards while keeping costs low enough to sell profitably at prices European brands can't touch. The global rollout tells the disruption story. Indonesia received it as the Atto 1 in July 2025, and by October it became the best-selling EV in the country, surpassing everything from established brands. It became the top-selling vehicle of any powertrain in Indonesia by late 2025. The Philippines got it in October 2024. Australia launched it in November 2025. Mexico calls it Dolphin Mini. Colombia, Uruguay, and Brazil are getting local production. Europe receives it as Dolphin Surf with slightly different styling. This is a global car targeting markets Western brands abandoned or ignored. Here's the value shock that terrifies Volkswagen and Renault. The Seagull costs $8,000 to $11,000. The upcoming VW ID.2 targeting €25,000, roughly $27,000, will cost triple what BYD charges for similar capability. Renault's electric Twingo aiming for under €20,000 is still double Seagull pricing. even if European versions land at 15,000 to 18,000 euros with taxes and import duties. They're undercutting established players by tens of thousands while delivering modern features and legitimate safety. That's not competition, that's demolition. An award winner at $8,000 sets the bar, but the next one dominates through sheer volume. Number 4. Wuling Guang Mini EV. Every 50 seconds in September 2025, someone in China bought a Wuling Guang Mini EV. That's over 51,000 units in a single month, 78.9% higher than the previous year in a car that costs roughly $6,200. The Mini EV isn't trying to be everything. It's brilliantly focused on being affordable urban transportation with just enough range and features to make city life easier. And it's absolutely dominating its segment in ways that make European attempts at budget EVs look half-hearted. The Mini EV measures exactly 3 meters long, making it one of the smallest four-wheelers you can buy that isn't technically a quadricycle. But unlike European microcars that feel cramped and compromised, the Mini EV uses its compact footprint cleverly. The battery sits flat under the floor, creating a surprisingly roomy cabin for such a tiny vehicle. 4 adults fit, though rear passengers on longer trips will want to be friendly with each other. For city commuting and errands, it's perfectly adequate. For hauling kids to school or grabbing groceries, it's actually ideal. The 2026 version brings meaningful upgrades that address earlier criticisms. There's now a built-in dash cam, 360-degree imaging, anti-roll system, and improved efficiency, squeezing more range from the same battery capacity. The base version uses a 16 kilowatt-hour LFP battery delivering around 170 kilometers CLTC range, which translates to maybe 120 kilometers real-world mixed driving. That's enough for most urban daily use where the car goes from home to work to school to shops and back home, recharging overnight on a standard outlet. The motor produces 30 kilowatts, around 40 horsepower, which sounds pathetic until you realize the car weighs under 700 kilograms. It's actually quite peppy in city traffic. Here's what's brilliant about the Mini EV's positioning. Wuling, a joint venture between SAIC and General Motors, understood that millions of Chinese urban residents don't need 400-kilometer range or highway speed capability. They need something cheaper than a scooter, safer than a three-wheeler, more practical than public transit, and affordable enough that middle-class families can justify it as a second or third vehicle. The Mini EV delivers exactly that and nothing more, which is how they hit prices European brands can't comprehend. The feature set is basic but functional. Air conditioning works, which is critical for Chinese summers. There's smartphone connectivity via app letting you precondition the cabin or check charge status remotely. Power windows, LED lighting, USB charging ports, the essentials. No leather seats or panoramic roofs, but the interior doesn't feel cheap. It feels purposeful, designed for easy cleaning and durability rather than impressing neighbors. That honesty is refreshing compared to budget European cars that try mimicking premium interiors with plastic chrome and fake leather that fools nobody. The sales numbers reveal the strategy's success. Wuling sold over 50,000 Mini EVs in September 2025 alone, accounting for nearly 60% of the brand's total monthly sales. The model dominates the under 30,000 Yuan segment, outselling everything with similar pricing by enormous margins. Competitors have tried matching the formula with varying success, but Wuling's scale advantages from the GM partnership and ruthless cost optimization keep them ahead. They're essentially printing money selling a car Western analysts assumed couldn't be profitable. The global implications terrify European city car makers. If Wuling can sell a legitimate 4-seat EV for $6,200 and make money, what's Volkswagen's excuse for targeting 25,000 euros for their budget EV? What's Smart's justification for charging $26,000 for their upcoming number 2 city car? The Mini EV proves you can build affordable electric transportation profitably if you're willing to optimize for cost rather than margin. European brands are stuck, defending legacy price structures that Chinese competitors just demolished with better engineering and lower expectations for per-unit profit. Volume dominance is impressive, but beating BYD at their own game is shocking. Number 3. Geely Shing Yuan. When a car beats the BYD Seagull in monthly sales despite launching just months earlier, you pay attention. The Geely Shing Yuan hit 36,119 registrations in April 2025, its 4th consecutive monthly record, beating BYD's veteran Seagull by thousands. This is Geely taking everything they learned from owning Volvo and running Polestar, then applying it to an $11,000 city car that looks better and feels more premium than anything European brands offer at similar prices. It's proof that Chinese automakers aren't just undercutting on price anymore. They're out-designing and out-engineering competitors across every segment. The Shing Yuan sits somewhere between the ultra-compact Wuling Mini EV and the slightly larger BYD Dolphin in size and positioning. The design is genuinely attractive, taking cues from both Wuling's playful bingo and Smart's number 3, but executed with Geely's increasingly confident design language. The proportions are right, the surfacing is clean, the details feel considered. It doesn't look like a budget product. It looks like something that would cost 20,000 euros in Europe, and probably will when it eventually launches there. Inside, the Shing Yuan delivers equipment that embarrasses budget European competitors. The 30 kWh CATL LFP battery delivers around 300 km CLTC range, useful for urban and suburban driving. The cabin features a modern dashboard with digital screens, smartphone connectivity, and build quality that reviewers consistently praise as exceeding expectations for the price. Geely applied lessons from premium brands about materials selection and assembly quality, using better plastics and tighter tolerances than typical budget cars show. You sit inside expecting economy car austerity, and instead find yourself in an environment that feels competent and well thought out. The 2026 model refresh adds features that would be expensive options on European city cars. Built-in dashcam, transparent chassis view visualizing what's below the car to avoid obstacles, 360-degree surround imaging for parking, anti-roll system improving handling, plus improved efficiency squeezing more range from the battery. Those aren't gimmicks. They're genuinely useful features that Geely includes standard to differentiate from competitors. A Volkswagen Up, if it were still produced, would charge thousands extra for similar equipment packages. The pricing strategy is what terrifies European brands. Starting at 80,000 yuan, roughly $11,000, the Shing Yuan sits right between the ultra-budget Seagull at $8,000 and the more expensive Dolphin at $14,000. That positioning is deliberate. Geely identified buyers willing to spend slightly more than Seagull money for better styling and equipment, but not ready to jump to Dolphin pricing. They created the perfect middle ground and executed it so well that monthly sales regularly exceed the Seagull, despite launching much later. The export question remains open. Geely is currently focused on satisfying explosive domestic demand, building production capacity to handle orders that keep setting records. But export is inevitable. Geely's global footprint through Volvo, Polestar, Lotus, and Lynk & Co. gives them distribution infrastructure and brand credibility that pure Chinese startups lack. When Shing Yuan launches in Europe, probably late 2026 or early 2027, it'll arrive with Geely's reputation for quality behind it. European pricing will likely land around 15,000 to 18,000 euros with taxes, still undercutting everything from established brands by massive margins. The success reveals something important about the Chinese EV market's maturity. Buyers aren't just choosing on price anymore. They're evaluating design, technology, brand reputation, and perceived value across multiple dimensions. The Shing Yuan wins not by being cheapest, but by being best in its price category. That sophistication among Chinese consumers is forcing manufacturers to raise their game, creating a virtuous cycle of improvement that's making Chinese city cars genuinely competitive globally. Beating BYD is hard, but the next brand combined speed with tech nobody expected. Number 2, MG4. Picture a Chinese city car with semi-solid-state battery technology, 400-kilometer range, and a price tag around $9,500. That sounds like science fiction until you realize SAIC launched exactly that in China in August 2025, and it sold nearly 12,000 units in its first 24 days. The MG4, previously focused on export markets, suddenly turned domestic attention by bringing technology reserved for premium EVs to the budget segment and proving it could sell at volume. This is the car that makes European engineers question their entire development timelines. The MG4 measures slightly larger than the micro-city cars we've covered, sitting in the compact segment alongside cars like VW ID.3 or the export-focused BYD Dolphin. But the domestic Chinese version brings something those competitors don't. IM Motors' semi-solid-state battery technology in a car costing under 70,000 yuan, roughly $9,600. That's a technology European brands talk about launching in 2027 or 2028 at premium prices, now available in a Chinese compact for Seagull money. The audacity is breathtaking. Semi-solid-state batteries offer higher energy density than conventional liquid electrolyte lithium-ion, enabling more range from smaller, lighter packs. They're also safer, with reduced fire risk compared to traditional batteries. IM Motor, SAIC's premium brand, developed the technology for higher-end models. Then SAIC shocked everyone by filtering it down to the budget-focused MG4. That's technology sharing European brands would never attempt, keeping premium tech in premium models to justify price premiums. SAIC said no, let's disrupt pricing across the entire market, and the sales numbers proved buyers noticed. 400 kilometers of an EDC range from the base battery pack means around 320 kilometers in real-world mixed driving, enough for genuine daily utility beyond city limits. The motor produces adequate power for confident acceleration. The interior features a modern digital cockpit with large screens, decent materials for the price point and build quality that European MG4 reviews praise as better than expected. SAIC clearly invested in making this car feel premium despite budget pricing, applying lessons from decades selling MG in Europe where buyers are more demanding than in some Asian markets. The European connection adds credibility. MG has been selling cars in Europe for years now, building brand awareness and dealer networks. The MG4 is already a volume seller in markets like UK and Netherlands, where Chinese EV brands have gained strong footholds. Europeans buying the export version pay around $28,000, still excellent value. But knowing Chinese domestic buyers get similar capability for 1/3, that price creates cognitive dissonance that's hard to resolve. Either European buyers are massively overpaying, or Chinese buyers are getting subsidized pricing unsustainable long term. The reality is probably that Chinese manufacturers accepted lower margins to gain market share, something European brands refused to consider. The speed of the launch surprised everyone. From announcement on August 29th to nearly 12,000 sales by late September suggests SAIC had confidence in the product and pricing. They weren't testing the market cautiously. They went aggressive immediately, targeting buyers considering Yuan or BYD Seagull with a compelling alternative offering more range and newer battery technology at similar pricing. That confidence comes from SAIC being China's largest state-owned automaker with resources and risk tolerance private companies can't match. The competitive implications ripple across the market. If semi-solid-state batteries are economically viable at under $10,000 price points in 2025, what's the excuse for European brands to delay adoption until 2028? If Chinese buyers expect cutting-edge technology in budget vehicles, European and American buyers will start demanding the same. The MG4 moves the goalpost for what's acceptable in an affordable EV, and that creates pressure throughout the industry. Semi-solid-state batteries shock at this price, but number 1 went from 0 to domination in months. Number 1. Changan Lumin. Here's a car that barely existed in the conversation 18 months ago, and by September 2025, it sold 23,188 units in a single month, up 88.8% year over year, ranking second only to the legendary Wuling Mini EV in the ultra-budget segment. The Changan Lumin costs around $4,100 for a 5-door, 4-seat electric car with air conditioning, smartphone connectivity, and legitimate build quality. That price is so absurd by Western standards that most people assume it's a typo. It's not. It's Chinese state-owned Changan applying every efficiency lesson learned. It's thought it did learn from decades of joint ventures with Ford and Mazda, then executing ruthlessly. The Lumin sits in the same ultra-compact segment as Wuling Mini EV, targeting buyers who prioritize affordability over everything. The 2026 Treasure Edition launching October 30th brings meaningful upgrades that address the segment's typical complaints. The body stretches slightly longer, improving rear seat comfort. The motor jumps from 30 to 35 kilowatts, a modest increase but meaningful at this power level where every kilowatt affects acceleration feel. Upgraded safety systems include electronic stability control, hill assist, and traction control, features often skipped in ultra-budget vehicles but now standard as Chinese safety regulations tighten. The interior redesign for 2026 shows Changan listening to customer feedback. Materials improve, assembly tightens, the dashboard layout becomes more intuitive. These aren't revolutionary changes, but they're exactly what matters in a segment where buyers are hyper-focused on value per yuan. Changan understood that ultra-budget doesn't mean customers accept poor quality. It means they scrutinize every detail to ensure their $4,100 buys something reliable and pleasant, not just functional. The Lumin delivers that balance better than most competitors. Here's where the volume growth becomes genuinely impressive. September 2025 sales hit over 23,000 units, which for context is more than Porsche sells globally in many months. At $4,100 per unit, that's $94 million in revenue from a single model in a single month. Even with minimal margins, the profitability at this volume is substantial. Changan isn't treating this as a loss leader to build brand awareness. They're making money selling the cheapest electric cars possible, proving there's a viable business model at price points European brands abandoned decades ago. The competitive positioning targets Wuling Mini EV buyers willing to spend slightly more for better equipment and newer technology. Changan's advantage is being a large state-owned manufacturer with resources to invest in developing a competitive product and scaling production rapidly when the market responded. Private startups can't match that combination of capital and manufacturing expertise. Even BYD, the EV king, chose to position Seagull higher in price than Lumin, leaving Changan to duke it out with Wuling for ultra-budget dominance. The global implications are what should terrify Western policymakers. If Chinese manufacturers can profitably sell legitimate electric cars for $4,100, the $25,000 EVs Western brands call affordable look like price gouging. The excuse that Western labor costs and regulations make sub-$10,000 EVs impossible falls apart when you examine where the actual cost differences lie. Chinese manufacturers, vertically integrated, automated aggressively, optimized designs for manufacturability, and accepted lower margins on volume. Those aren't unfair trade advantages, they're better business execution. The Lumin proves that electric vehicles can be genuinely affordable, not just less expensive than equivalent gas cars, but actually cheap in absolute terms. That flips the entire EV adoption conversation. Instead of asking how to subsidize expensive EVs to make them accessible, the question becomes why Western EVs cost so much when Chinese competitors prove they don't have to. That's uncomfortable territory for legacy automakers who've spent decades maximizing margins on SUVs and trucks while letting small car segments wither. The Lumin and its ultra-budget siblings represent existential threats to business models that assume vehicles must generate thousands in profit per unit to justify production. So there's your wake-up call. 5 Chinese city cars proving that affordable electric transportation isn't a fantasy. It's reality in the world's largest auto market, and it's spreading globally faster than Western brands can respond. If this countdown opened your eyes to the disruption happening right now, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into automotive shifts that legacy media won't cover honestly. Drop a like if these prices shocked you, and comment which of these 5 you'd import tomorrow if regulations allowed. The city car revolution isn't coming. It already happened, and most people are only now realizing what they missed.